Chase, do you want to get into this show that we both watched called The Cage?
I would love to. First, I
All
want to
right.
say that it is a show that came out so long ago, and I specifically can tell you I've never seen a single scene online memed on Twitter. I've never come across like, oh, look at this funny moment from the. It's like nobody watched this show, I don't think, and because of how the episode goes, and we're going to break down a lot of things that go on through it. But even towards the end of the episode, you can tell nobody watched this show because that would have been all over social media. That would have been all over it. So I think it's just really funny to make that note. But yes, this is The Cage. Came out last year, I believe.
Yeah, I think sometime late last year.
And was filmed, and was probably filmed the year before, but it does take place around UFC Paris. Because they talk about Manon, Benoit, and then obviously, Cyril Gane. But we can get into the beginning of it. I'll let you start.
Sure. Well, so, this is the show is called The Cage. It's on Netflix. It is a French production. So a lot of French fighters involved in this show, as Chase mentioned a couple of those. Well, I think a funny thing to note for me personally is that, I have been boycotting Netflix since the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight because of how atrocious that viewing experience was. But we had talked about wanting to watch this and how no one has been talking about or essentially had watched it that we knew of. So I was like, all right, I'll get into this. I will try to figure out a way to watch this right. So I went over to a Russian friend of mine's house to do some viewing of this. And when we went to go look for this episode, there's also another show called The Cage on Netflix. It is a Arabic language show. I think it's a comedy, but it's basically Arabic marriage counseling. And it was rather difficult to get through, and for the first 10 minutes, because it's also in a foreign language, I didn't know that it was the wrong show. So I'm sitting here kind of watching, like, wait, I was like, when does the fighting start here? But so anyway, just a funny note there that if you're going to watch this show, make sure you watch the French show called The Cage and not the Arabic show called The Cage. But this is a show about a young up-and-coming fighter and his journey in mixed martial arts. We watched the first episode only, so that's what we're going to be talking about here today.
Okay, so I'll start how it opens up because I think it's really funny. It starts by, and this is one of the cliches on the website. It's like, the doors open and the holy light is shining, and he walks through and he's in an arena or whatever. And there's, I don't know if you noticed it, 7 to 10 people standing in the crowd, and like at the actual like walk-in part of it, and then the rest of it is just CGI people, which I thought was really really funny because like it's just like blank people just standing there with their hands in their pockets. But then when you look down towards the in ring side of it, like it's just like 10 people. So it was really funny to note that. And then, has one of those moments where he locks in, the crowd goes silent, you can hear like his heartbeat or whatever, and then title card. And I thought that was really, really funny to start the show.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I loved that in that moment that you're talking about there. That's a flash forward sequence, by the way. This is
sorry.
So like, yeah. Well, no, but I mean, that's just the framing of it. So, this is like the conclusion of everything, but him being in the big show, whatever that may be, we'll find out through the course of the show. But I love that on commentary, because they're playing the commentary while he's walking out or whatever. And the commentary is very on the nose out the gate, saying nobody believed in this guy whatsoever. Like, this is something that you're going to hear a lot of us say over the course of this, is that this show is packed with very on the nose moments and all of the cliches that you could possibly imagine. This is like, if an AI generator for MMA cliches wrote a script, this would kind of be it.
Yeah, no, this was pretty funny. The opening scene, and then you get to the title. Do you have anything else after that scene?
No,
because I think going after the title, it gets really funny too.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, the whole thing continuing on is absolutely. But yeah, no. The only other note that I had is a general note, because I think both of us watched the dub version.
Mm-hmm.
They have it, of course, in its native French, but you can watch it dubbed in English. The dub is like anime dubbing. Like, it is, some of the voice acting in this dubbing is rather expressive.
See, this was the first time, and for the stream context, I normally don't do well with dubs because I'm trying to I normally look at the face, and if I'm watching the voice and it doesn't match up, it really fucks with me. But as I was taking notes today, first time ever, it was very easy for me to like sink into the story because I'm just listening to the voices. And the fact that you don't like the voice actors, I thought that they were doing pretty solid. We'll get into some funnier ones, but the main villain, we'll talk about him in a little bit. His voice actor was pretty solid, I thought.
It wasn't that they were bad voice actors. It's just that they were emoting in a way that wasn't always exactly what the actual actors were emoting. So it was like, a little bit of a disconnect there, I would say. So it just was funny for me in that regard. But
yes. Yes, checkmate. We're talking about the French Netflix show. Yes, exactly. Yes, so anyway, absolutely. Okay, title card hits, and then the title card was actually really not great. It didn't match the vibe of the show. That was kind of weird.
Very plain.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, then cue the rap music, let him start running. It's a casual run. He's not running anywhere because the scene ends, and he never runs anywhere. He never gets to his place. I remember watching, and I'm like, okay, this is the moment. Obviously, you got the rap music, you got him running. This is the get hype. He runs nowhere. He doesn't anyway. Scene ends, opens up the gym, all right? And he walks in, right? And you got the moment where he stands in the middle of the fucking room, and he's looking around like, man, this is my gym. Like, this is where I'm at, guys. And then you get the, hey, man, and he hits and like the dude right fucking next to him who didn't say anything to when he walked in is like standing there playing on his phone. He's like, I gotta show you something, kind of deal. And it was right then and there. I was like, man, this is gonna be a watch. This is gonna be a watch because they are just. It's like, I don't know if it's like first time filmography, but it's like they went to school for it. Like, that's what it feels like. And they're like doing textbook style scenes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That is the way that I described it also. I said it was AI like, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but it's definitely like a dude who is a big UFC fan, went to film school, and then made the UFC show.
Yeah.
So yeah, going into the sequence when he's in the gym now, it starts off. Presumably he was running to the gym, but we never do find out if that's where he was. But
he shows up in different clothes as well.
Exactly. So so he's in the gym, and I think it was funny too because this fighter at the time that he's at the gym here now is an amateur fighter, and he has a couple of wins under his belt. So he's telling the owner of the gym, who's like the main boss man of the gym, he's like, hey dude, I just went out and fought and I got a submission and I was repping the gym. Boss does not care whatsoever that he was doing that. Then he ends up having to go and train with this girl who she's late to training, and like all of a sudden now she's schooling him.
I think I see where I've taken a lot more notes of what I thought was funny, because absolutely, he walks in the gym and, the moment with his buddy, and he's like, that could be you one day. And then the coach walks by and he's like, hey, coach. And the coach blows him off. Coach, hey, coach. Coach absolutely doesn't give a shit about this dude.
Yeah, coach does not like this guy whatsoever for some reason. I have
that so many times. Like, the coach absolutely doesn't fucking like him. Okay, anyway, woman walks in late. And she goes right up to the coach and says, I want to train with him. And the coach is like, you can't train with him. And it's funny because they play it off as like, oh, because you're a woman. And then he's like, because you were late and you know the rules. And and then so they go to the training, right? Okay, so they go to the training. Oh, I actually put woman can't train with Lapalus, because if we're going to point in all the moments that the stars show up, Taylor Lapalus plays an amateur fighter in this club. I want to make this note now because I'll bring it up later. There are UFC fighters who portray amateur fighters, and there are actors who portray UFC fighters in this show. Doesn't make sense to me there.
So, okay, though, because I thought the same thing, but this is another odd point here. So Lapalus is in the gym as that fighter, but then he's also himself on the broadcast.
Dude, you're right. I didn't even think about that later when he's all in his suit. Yes, you are absolutely correct. And
very strange.
It was so weird later, and we'll talk about it. They're like, yeah, these are UFC fighters. They're coming to show you guys a few things. And it's literally just two fucking randoms. But like, anyway, okay.
Yeah.
I also wanted to make a note back to, okay, so she couldn't train with Lapalus because she didn't show up on time, quote unquote, because she's a woman. Then our hero gets to spar with her, and he's getting schooled by the girl.
Right.
Not only is he okay, maybe go light and actually like win, but don't school her. But it's like he's getting absolutely dominated. Throws a decent tornado kick. I'll give him that. Then I put again getting shown up by a girl. Then I put she's cooking him. And then
Yeah.
and then we get to the point
And giving him pointers too, throughout all of this.
Yeah, exactly. She's telling him how to get better. Yeah,
Right.
that's the crazy part. Okay, so that scene ends. We watch him get worked over. They get a drink of water. I have Coach still doesn't give a fuck about him, doesn't believe in him, whatever. And then you get the point where he says that he says it in a way that is kind of stupid, but maybe it's a translation thing. He's like, I can't even put two words together, and it's like, so you can't talk, like. And I think he meant he's dyslexic. I think that is what he was getting at.
I thought he was saying that when he writes, he isn't. Whatever. The point is, though, is that like, because I have that in the notes too, is that more on the nose stuff. This was his. This is all I got speech. Basically, is what he's doing with the coach. I'm dedicated to this. This is my entire life. This is what I want to do for my life. And I can't do anything else. This is all I have in life. So you got to believe in me, coach. And then the coach still doesn't believe in him.
So actually, I forgot to give main context to this. This is after the sparring session. This is when our hero is flagging down the coach on his way out. The coach is trying to get in his car and leave. And then you get this scene of the coach telling him absolutely the shittiest things ever for a coach to say. And it's really funny because our main hero, like every time it cuts to his face, he's just just standing there blank, just blank.
He wears that a lot in this show.
Yes. Okay. So, and then he drops the "Okay, buddy" line. Are you okay, buddy? Like, who do you think you are? Okay. And then I made note, gets into his nice car and leaves. That was another note.
I didn't notice.
Didn't drive his Corolla. Didn't make it seem like he's helping the fighters. No. All right. Hey, you still need help? I got to go get the pizza for the fam. It's like, dude, he's literally asking you for help. He wants more attention in the gym. And he's like, okay, buddy, opens his door of his fucking Nissan, fucking Altima. I don't know. It was an SUV. I don't know cars. But it was a nice car, to say the least. And he got in and fucking left. And I thought it was a funny, funny moment. And then the next scene is even funnier. So if there's anything else you want to add about the coach.
No. I mean, just the fact that this coach is like, we don't really get a lot of context as to why the coach is so like not believing in his student. Because theoretically, I mean, this kid is like, the only thing that I guess maybe could be something in there is that at one point the kid did say that he might think about quitting, but like, that was really, to me, I was like the entire time with the coach, I'm just like, get a new gym, bro. Like, why are you staying here?
I think it happened also, and I didn't make a note of it already, but the coach does have a star pupil that he does not. He loves that guy to death, even though we'll talk about later, he's not the student that our hero is. So it also adds to the coach is playing favorites for the person who's not even deserving of the that honor.
Right. Well, and the star student, by the way, is named Red One. And that's a very funny thing to me because the name Redwan is a name. That's a standard name, or whatever. It is a name that exists, but they pronounce it in the dub Red One, which, as you may know, is a movie that about Santa Claus that just came out recently. But it's also the name of the producer who produced the song "Starships" by Nicki Minaj. Little fact for you that I happen to know. Don't ask why I know it. I just do. But so anyway, time that they talk about this Red One guy, I'm always like, oh yeah, Red One from Nicki Minaj's Starships. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So going into the next scene, this one is top tier, hilarious. He walks into presumably his mother's home, and his mom is sitting there smoking a cigarette. Playing on her phone. I wrote degenerate mom, iPad kid mom, coke drinking mom, and she's a bitch. Like, she was such a fucking, like, she said there's coke in the fridge. He said, I don't drink that. She said, well, why don't you stop talking and get me one? Like, who do you think you are? And then I also want to make a note. Oh wait, go ahead.
Well, no. I mean, it's just that they were laying it on so thick with the mother character for all of the negative traits that you could possibly have as a parent. But continue.
Yes, and then she asks for money, right? And then she plays the pity card. She did, like, it was all in one fell swoop. She's like, well, I would, are you able to help with rent this month? And he's like, well, Mom, aren't you able? And she's like, it's fine. I'll figure it out. Like, I'm okay. Like, whatever, and anyway, if you notice in this scene, our hero was filling up a cup of water. He set it on the table, took maybe one drink, and then he walks out. He kisses his mom on the head, leaves the cup on the table, and then walks out. Maybe that's why she's not a big fan of him. I don't know, because he leaves things everywhere, all over the house. If you actually go to a scene later on, you watch his apartment where he has bottles with no caps on them. So I'm just saying, maybe it's
one
part
of those
of the character.
kinds. Yeah.
So,
but then the other thing too, before he leaves, again, just if you could not hammer it home how bad of a mother this is throughout all of this, like the icing on the cake before he leaves, she turns to him and says, "By the way, happy birthday."
Yes. Oh my God. No. I know I skipped to him walking. The glass of water and him walking out was funny. But yes, she asked for money, and then he says, "If the cliche, well, I can just quit what I'm doing and work more hours and work more." It's like, okay, it's not what did I say? I said, it is a cliche, but like, what else are you gonna do? I mean, there's only a couple options in the world. You either work or don't, kind of deal. And then shows up for a glass of water, leaves before drinking it, and I put it's his birthday.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, they really, I mean, like, if there was ever any doubt that this is the world's worst mother, it was thrown out of the window because they gave it to you all in that one scene, so you know exactly what you're getting out of that.
Well, I'll bring it up now, and we'll talk about it later. This first episode has a whole movie's plot. That is the issue. Is like they run through. They got to have all the character development right in that first initial scene because it skips light years ahead. Like here soon. Like in about 5 minutes, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck is happening? How did he do that?" Anyway, so that scene ends. We ready to move on? You want to talk about his mom more?
Well, I have in the notes, there is that one scene, I believe it's either right after or right before this, when he's in by himself in the apartment.
Yes.
Okay, that is this next one.
I think there's a funny moment that starts. He walks into his apartment, grabs the remote, turns the TV on. UFC news is automatically playing right at the time that he turns it on. No commercials, just them talking specifically about, I think it was GSP at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gets mad at his life, hits the bag wild as hell with no wraps, probably sprains his wrist, but fair. I did feel that. I did feel it. I get mad sometimes and I want to hit things. I'm okay with it.
Well, and my note about it was that, like, again, on the nose stuff, it was like the TV was talking directly to his life. Like the way the stuff that they were saying from the television was just like, in parallel to everything that he's doing. GSP worked so hard and he tried so hard and this and that. And it's like, I wanted the TV just to basically be like, "Hey, guy, do you hear what we're saying?" Because it was essentially what they were doing.
There's one thing that I want to give praise to this show for. They decently depicted what a person who's aspiring to do something with, in any physical capability, and you are a young person who doesn't make a lot and you're making ends meet, and they show you what you have to eat, and it's a bowl of powder and milk. And like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's real true. He's not here. He's not going to eat a steak dinner like they would show in like a big time movie. Oh, he's eating the greens. He's got his vegetables. He's got everything in the main food. It's like, no, he eats a bowl of fucking ice cream with protein powder or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was ramen, but same difference.
There was two. No, he definitely had the protein, but they were doing a whole showcase of the protein powder. Like they had 3 different bags that he was pouring.
Oh,
into the
yes,
bowl.
yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right about that.
Right.
Right.
He did do the ramen later, but then another one. It's like, he's a broke guy. I mean, I've eaten ramen before, dude. Like, I respect the way that they were depicting the appetite. Not the appetite itself, but the food incoming. I don't know. I think that was a great point. I know it didn't make sense. And then the scene ends pretty quickly. That was the one where you can see quickly, like he was making his bowl. You can see around his apartment, there's just bottles with fucking no lids on them. And it was, context, I guess. His bed was made, though. I did notice that. The bed was made. Because I normally like to look at these scenes and I'm like, did they make it look like somebody lives here?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
And I agree. It looked pretty good. I think the little things were here. Some of the little things that they were doing, you can see that it was good attempt.
Props on the set dressing.
Yes, exactly. Okay, and then that scene ends relatively quickly after he hits the bag and gets mad at himself. Do you have anything else to add there?
No, not for that part.
Okay. He walks in the gym again the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Takes one last look around. Actually, takes one last look around, right? This isn't when he's about to quit, I don't think.
I think it might have been. I think that was, I think that was at that point. But that's why I think that it was odd that the coach before that was so down on this kid, because like up until that point, we had no reasoning for why the coach didn't believe in him.
Yeah, okay. So he takes one last look around, and, you know, he tells everybody that he's quitting, and they're like, oh, you know, if it's financial, we can figure something else out. And he's like, nah, I'm just blah, 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 blah. Don't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now the big bad guy shows up.
Yeah, I said Cobra Kai rolls in.
You actually, Cobra Kai is probably a better one. When they first interacted, it felt just like I said, this is the Kung Fu Panda villain. Like this is the evil master, and he's, well, not the master, but, you know, the evil protege coming to get his throne or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I said shitty coach, and club should have jumped them all for walking in there and saying, we will take on any one of you. Like, bro, there's like 30 of you guys. There was 5 at max. Like, you could have beat the shit out. And then, so, you know, because the bad guys come in and they're like, yo, we'll fight anybody. We want to fight anybody, anywhere, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, how did you even get this far? Who let you in the door? If you push past them, this is an MMA gym. Like, you should have some culture. Like, you know, we're not going to let you fucking come in here. Like, we're supposed to be competitive. Like, we're raising people to be to championship level, whatever you want to say. Nobody's going to walk in your fucking gym and say, we'll beat everybody in here. Like, no. First off, listen, and that's old school pro wrestling shit. That ain't even mixed martial arts. You don't walk in you have some respect. And if you think you're going to shoot on me, buddy, you got another thing coming. You'll get choked out with bare hands. Anyway. So, everybody's scared. Everybody's scared. I even wrote, we're all scared here. Nobody wants to fight. Nobody has the balls to say anything. And they're all saying, bro, just go, please.
Yeah, they're like begging this guy to leave. Like, just go, man, come on.
And then so our hero is the only one to say something. And everybody's like, oh my, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why would you say something? Like, as of everybody else isn't screaming, him saying, I'll do it. Like, nobody would have even heard him. Like, they probably could have got away with it. But then
he says that when the guy that the big bad guy has like 30 pounds on him. I mean, like, this dude is so much bigger than him, but okay, you know, fine.
Yeah, and dude, I just can't emphasize more like how shitty this coach is. He does not know how to run a gym, how to lead, how to be inspirational. I said a lot there, but like, he does not know what the fuck he wants to do. And I think I even said at one time, like, he's just lost his love for the game. Like, he just does not want to be there anymore. So, anything else on that scene? Because it does go next to something else.
Well, I mean, yeah, what it leads into is kind of backs up your point too, is that, yeah, he might not know how to do much, but one thing he definitely knows how to do is capitalize on social media. The way that, because the point is with that is that the big bad guy is known for hurting other fighters that he's sparring with before his fights. Yes. So he's often filming when the sparring sessions. He's breaking the cardinal rule of almost every gym on the planet. You know, you don't film your spars. He's filming all of them and intentionally hurting everybody that he's sparring with. So anyway, I mean, that's leading into what happens next year.
Yes. So they go to the scene. They're in the locker room. He's wrapping up his hands because they're going to do it. They're going to throw down. That's what's happening. His buddy. And this is the Ned from Spider-Man effect, where you just got to have the fat, lovable kind of guy.
Another trope, yes. They have the fat comic relief kid. That is absolutely the case.
You got to be funny and fat. Like, that's that's the thing. Anyway, so that's
just hanging out at the gym too. You know,
and he was carrying a weight ball earlier when the villain walked in, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" And then he like drops it and runs to the coach, and it's like, why are you the coach's bitch? Like, you don't even look like you lived here. But anyway.
Just happy to be there.
Yeah, no, okay. So, and this was before I even knew they were buddies. So I'm like, why is the dude at the gym that doesn't even participate showing our guy who's about to fight the guy? He's like, dude, do you see this? He's fucking killed everybody, dude. Like, he's like right next to him. He's like, dude, he broke his arm. You see that shit? He's like, dude, you gotta be, he's gonna break your arm, man. He's gonna fuck you up. If that's his friend, no confidence. No confidence at all either. Just like everybody else in the gym, even his girlfriend. And we'll get to the point before we walk to the ring where she's like, you can't do this. You gotta fucking stop. She had no faith. He is like the most, like, they view him as the most soy dude in the gym. It's like, why would David ever challenge Goliath? Like,
well, and an interesting note about the framework of all of that is that this is supposed to be a spar. Like, no one is supposed to be killing anybody throughout all of this, yet apparently they're all hyping it up like you're going to die in there. I mean, now, granted, we know that the big bad guy is hurting people during sparring sessions, but like, it's supposed to be like anybody shouldn't be getting hurt, period.
No, there's a great moment coming up. Okay, so after we're walking to the cage, after the shitty teammate shows every time that the dude's broken the dude's arm, we're walking to the cage. We have the girl who still has no face. She's like, dude, you can't do this. You got to stop. Here's your last chance, blah, 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 blah. He walks in the cage. I made a note. Coach is still shitty as hell because he's just sitting on the sidelines, arm crossed, and he's like, he's a fucking idiot. He's an idiot. He's going to get wrecked. There's no fucking chance. And I even said, won't even corner him. Like, he's just in the crowd. He's not even, like, up on the cage. He's got the fat guy and Chase Hooper as his fucking teammates, which we'll get into him later in just a second, because that was a really funny moment. So, speaking of this was supposed to be a sparring match, I put, dumbass thought he was going to use his pads. Because he was in the middle of the cage, and, you know, the bad guy's getting ready to set up his camera. You know, he's doing his pad work, and he's, you know, doing all this and that. And then our hero was, like, strapping on his leg pads, and the villain's like, what are you doing that for? Take them off. You gotta feel this, man. And, by the way, back to the voice acting. I thought it was pretty solid. You know, in the going from just a situational, like, talking, later we get more of that from the villain. In this moment, you know, you got to sound, like, aggressive, like, you know, you're ready to, you know, do something. I thought it was very solid. So,
all right, fair.
Dumbass thought it was padded. That was a very funny note that I thought I made. Great camera work. I thought was something I noted in the actual octagon sequences when they were striking. Like, the camera work was not bad, especially when they would switch to a shot where he's supposed to be hitting the camera kind of deal. I thought it was very well done. Decent striking as well done in the actual filming of the process.
Yeah, I was going to say, overall, the fight choreography throughout the show is done very well.
Yes, true. And it makes you wonder also. It's like, because I know when you're filming, you have to, there's a reason that performers and actors, or athletes and actors, are different. It's because, like, you have to be able to exaggerate the motion a little more for the camera. So maybe that's why they got, you know, MMA actors. But, like, we've seen plenty of times people who are portraying athletes, they don't portray the athletic ability, like, you know, the Winning Time TV show about the Showtime Lakers. Like, you could see in a lot of those, the athletes are not the athletes that they're portraying, kind of deal. In this one, I thought portraying, you know, random MMA athletes at this point, it's like, okay, they do fine enough. Like, they're not trying to be Taylor Lapilus. Taylor Lapilus isn't putting on the performance of himself in the cage, kind of deal. I don't know. So it was a little better, I thought. Decent striking. The bad guy casually keeps stopping to take his mouthpiece out and talk trash. Just walks away
while he is beating the ever-loving hell out of this kid. I mean, he is just pummeling him, ends up rocking him really bad at one point. He goes down off of that. This is the note that I had about this as things progress a little bit more. So, you know, it starts off, the big bad is just wrecking shop against this kid in what is supposed to be a spar, continuous. I mean, this goes on for an extended period of time. He is rocking the hell out of him. This dude, our hero, gets one sweep on the villain, and then the fucking coach says, no, get our cameras going. We need to now get our own social media.
You're missing so much.
Oh my God. Okay.
Casually stops, you know, with the mouth guard. Our hero getting manhandled.
Yes.
Stops for the fight, for the trash talk again. Then our hero gets slept, basically. He gets knocked down, face flat on the mat. Okay. You would think
that should be the end of it.
He won. Okay, no. Nope, he gets up. Then, after he gets slept, now the coach is like, oh, fuck. Like, he had the Trevor Whitman moment. He got excited when our hero went down face first. Okay? The coach jumps in. Then we get a flying knee from the villain that sets up, you know, a very heavy beatdown against the cage, right? Then you get Chase Hooper, who opens the cage, walks in, and tries to stop the fight.
I forgot about that.
And then he gets Spartan kicked across the cage, And then boom, our hero. Our hero knew what he had to do. He gets the sweep just like his coach told him. And then the bad guy stops again, goes to his corner and says, "Stop recording. Do not record it anymore," because he got up. He got something on him that shows weakness. And then you have the fat nerd. He goes up to the coach and he says, "Coach, can I go get on the social media page and start?" And the coach is like, "Go fucking do it." And then
that's the craziest thing to me.
And at this moment, you would think now the coach is involved with him. This is the moment where he believes in him. He sees that like there's the star potential. We get this on camera and we got good things coming. Okay. Then after beating up the teammate, they continue the match. This is the worst gym imaginable. Horrible. Everyone involved is going to hell, is what I put in this note, because none of them tried to stop anything that happened there. I mean, Chase Hooper did, of course, but he got kicked to oblivion and then nobody else stepped in. Okay. And then I put down the social media war begins, because this is modern storytelling. Social media is a very important part of culture, and you do have to. It does take a lot of movies. When you look at horror movies, there's a lack of phone aspect in those. Social media, that is, anything of that sort, and it's because it would make the story a lot easier. I know it's not the same case here, but it does take a special eye to be able to implement a social media aspect into the story, and it actually be sensible, kind of makes sense. I know it's kind of cliche. They stopped live streaming and now we gotta stop, but it's like a decent attempt, right? It's something that I've never seen before. I kind of
I give them credit for the implementation of the social media in here, because it is such a big part of how this sport propagates and how you have to present yourself in this sport. But yeah, when it comes to what you just said about one person shutting the camera off and then them starting it, my thing was he got one sweep.
I know, and it was very funny. It was very funny because then obviously he gets the one sweep, and then our hero at this moment, at the first episode of the show, surely he doesn't win this battle. He's going to come back and beat him in the 5th episode, for the belt or something. But no, he gets a sweep. They get back to the feet, and the words that he didn't pay attention to earlier in the fight, where get off the center line. His buddy literally told him that, because he was asking him in the back, like, show me how to beat him. He's like, you got to get off the center line, and he does that, and he hits him once and drops him on his face. And it was, listen, and they want to try to, and obviously I'm playing into it a little bit, but they want to talk about how it wasn't a knockout. Brother, he was knocked out by the dude, and I think it was really funny that the hero overcomes all the adversity in 20 minutes of his entire career. So I think, again, I said it earlier, an entire movie's plot happens, and up until this point, this is the Rocky Balboa ending. This is where he finally gets the moment his friend gets hurt and he fucking, but anyway, so knocks him out. Then they pick up the hero, or the villain. The hero is in awe, oh my God, did I just do that? And then the villain gets carried off because the fight's over now. Now that he got knocked down, now they carry him away. and he didn't actually say it, but he wanted to say and I'll get you next time, you mother, shit like that. They're carrying him away. And I said, obviously saves the opponent for the future fight. And then the coach hits him with, the "you did good" speech. You did good, kid. That one.
Right.
And then hits him with the, "Oh yeah, and you should stay here for more of my shitty coaching."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then actually at this moment, I said decent trash talk on the dub from the villain. I really thought that it was decent when they, this was, sorry, scene ends if you want to add anything to that one.
No, well, I mean, was that the same scene where the coach said that the same stuff from earlier still applied?
No, that's later.
That's later.
That one's one scene after. So this next scene that comes up, they go to Poland, and this is the press conference with the villain and the Polish guy.
Yeah, and I did want to say something about this real quick, though, is that it was nice. So throughout all of this show, sometimes when it comes to shows like this, you'll have to have stand-ins for the UFC, or for certain fighters, you'll have a guy who represents a John Jones, but it's not actually John Jones, this kind of stuff. It was nice that this is actually UFC being represented in here. And then the organization that they were on in Poland was KSW. So it was nice to see another organization that's not the UFC. I mean, KSW is a much smaller organization, but still a legitimate one, getting actual airtime and representation. I was very happy with that.
Okay, so we get to a press conference. This is the upcoming fight between our villain and his opponent. Mm-hmm. And the trash talk from our villain is extraordinary. The dub absolutely murdered this role of somebody who's just supposed to just talk trash for just whatever reason it has to be, and let me see. Yeah, so decent trash talk. And then that scene kind of ends with a little scuffle, I believe, because I think word goes around about the knockout. Like, hey, like the reporter asks, like, hey, I heard you got knocked out in light sparring or whatever. And then he flips out. And
that's an interesting point in general. Like when we were talking about how the social media plays into all of this, is that like things go viral, like, and the entire fucking world knows about it on this show.
I have plenty to say about it. Okay. So that scene ends.
So in the press conference, so what ended up happening was that I agree with you. Actually, it was a good representation because what the reporter asks him about the knockout, and the response from the villain was pretty good. He said something that makes sense in this sport. It's like, oh, it was a spar. I wasn't really warmed up, blah, blah, blah. Like all things that you would actually hear someone say in a circumstance like that. So I liked that. It was actually accurate. And then the way that he ended it and what ended up going to the scuffle was that he was like, I'm all warmed up now. And I'm not going to let that happen from a bitch like this. And then the other guy starts going at him. And
exactly. And that line was killer. Okay.
Yeah.
So that scene ends. And then it opens up at the gym again, and you got the coach doing coach paperwork because everybody has to be doing busy work. Like, they can't just be coaching the actual fucking people.
Yeah, coach doesn't do much coaching in this show, period.
Yeah, okay.
At least not yet, anyway.
So he goes up to him, and he asks, so what's next? And the coach we talk about this at work more recently, weaponized incompetence. The coach pulls this card where he has no memory of what just happened. That the only person in the gym that was willing to take a fight did, right? And I said, he asked what's next. And the coach looks at him and he's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you asking? And he's like, are we going to, like, what are the next steps? Like, am I going to be training harder? Are we going to, like, do something? And he's like, no. Like, everything that I said the other day before you did what you did, like that stands. Exactly what you were saying just a minute ago. He literally tells him, yeah, no, you're still not going anywhere. Like, I don't care if you think that you did good in that fight. Like, I don't know. And this is when I put, coach literally hates this guy.
Yeah, I don't understand what this kid did to the coach. The kid just knocked out a dude who has a fight in a professional fight. This kid is an amateur at the time. He's got his big bad villain has a professional fight coming up in a known MMA organization outside of the country that they're in, and this is not good enough for this coach. I don't know what this dude did to this coach.
This guy, I'm hoping by the end of the series, he gets a new fucking team. Like, I'll bring up another funny thing. So more recently in the NBA 2K games, there is an option when you start to leave your agent or, to pick the longtime friend or to get the new upscale agent. This is not the time to keep the old boys back home, my guy. You got to get rid of this coach, this team, everybody around you. They don't believe in you. The girl don't like you. The fat guy wants to show you people breaking getting your arm broke, whatever you want to say. Anyway.
Well, by the end, we'll talk about the ending of the episode, but we know that the things are going to change. But either way, that's a little teaser.
So, coach literally hates bro. Coach hates his job. Love for the game is gone. Cares about his pupil who blows him off though, because in the scene after we got to watch our hero sit there with a blank face again, just while the coach shits on him for 5 minutes, and then he leaves, and then the star child, which I don't even believe was the same star pupil as it was in the earlier episodes. Like, I think it was a different guy, but this one now he's like, "Where are you going, dude?"
Earlier in this episode.
Yes, yeah. So he's like, well, where are you going, dude? And he's like, I'll be back. I gotta just go. I'm just gone for an hour. I'll be back. Don't worry, coach. I got you. And he's like, dude, come on. Like, and I don't want to say it, but like, he's riding bro hard. Like, and he not even trying to take it serious, but you got a dude who's willingly asking you how to get better, what I can do to get better, what hours to put where, and I'll do the things that nobody else will do. Anyway, I know it's a movie or a show, so I'm not going to get too frustrated, but this was so fucking bad from the coach. The coach is so fucking horrible. And I'm really hoping that you're ready to get into the next scene, but I will let you get into it.
No, well, I mean, it's to lead into the next scene.
Yes.
The way that this ends is that our hero casually tells the coach, again, talking about how things go mega viral. By the way, coach, I'm going on Cyril Gahn's podcast.
I just thought about why this is actually a good thing. Because if you like other things in this show, obviously, there's a lot of things that go on in his personal messages that we will never see. Just like anybody else down the street, you don't know what they're talking about with who. You don't know what they're setting up. I think it's a good aspect in that regard that things happen that we don't get to see because it's just happening on his personal DM. Like, we're not going to be able to watch him text everybody. That's just, whatever. But in this moment, yes, he comes out and says, I'm going to be on Cyril Gahn's podcast. And then the scene starts next, and he's in the, he's backstage, and his teammates showing him like GSP liked his knockout, and he's like, well, oh, that can't be real. This is a you should keep this in note for later. He's like, whoa, no, that's not real. That can't be the real one. And then I think his buddy says something along the lines of like, you should message him or something like that. Or maybe he brought it up like, maybe I'll message him or something.
Yeah, and I mean, I think my point with why I felt that was kind of crazy is that it's like, yeah, I mean, I granted French MMA is a much smaller group, it's a smaller pool. I'm sure it's a smaller community in general, but it is just kind of crazy that this dude has this one moment that goes mega viral within the French MMA community, and now everybody who is even tacitly connected to French is knowing about this. Cyril Gahn wants him on the podcast, and GSP, who's not in France, he's in Canada.
I am just so ready to talk about the next scene.
Yes,
okay.
So it's leading into his appearance on Cyril Gahn's podcast, and this is a very, very entertaining little scene that's coming up here.
So to note, this is a podcast that is hosted by Cyril Gahn. And when I say hosted, I mean the dude that voice acts him may as well be like Bob Barker or something. Like, he is in full-on game show host. And I'm watching it, and I wrote down, Cyril Gahn is the host, and his dub is doing him such good justice, I'm sure. Because when I'm watching him, like, he does look like he's just kind of relaxed and, in like a podcast mode. But the voice that's over top of him is absolutely hilarious because he's more involved than I've ever seen Cyril Gahn involved with anything.
Well, and it's also a little bit of a stretch to say that Cyril Gahn is the host of this show when his two co-hosts are taking over the entirety of the show, and all Cyril Gahn is doing is saying, hey guys, maybe not go so hard, because these co-hosts are a pair of fucking pricks.
Dude, okay, so I said the next thing is, okay, now we're on shit on the guest moment of the show. And then I put,
for a long time.
And then I put, because it went on for a long time, that I had time to make this second note. These are the worst co-hosts of all time.
They were atrocious.
Like, if they had their own show, okay, niche audience maybe will enjoy them. But for Cyril Gahn to just be having a good time looking at these dudes, it just did, dude, it was fucking horrible. It was so fucking funny because Cyril Gahn, if you understand what the dub sounds like, guys, and the way that he's just delivering, come on now, guys, come on.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to realize, like, we're not even really doing justice to how hard these two guys are shitting on our hero here. I mean, they come in, and it's basically like, it starts off like a normal conversation. Essentially, who's your favorite fighter is who they ask, what they ask the hero. He says GSP is his favorite fighter, and then immediately these two are like, well, you're never going to be GSP. Let's take a look at this. And they show a clip. It's a 10-second clip that they show of him at one point during a fight where he's evading and he's, quote unquote, running. He does a little bit of a trot around. This is a 10-second clip. The hero even says, it's just a brief portion, and I ended up winning that fight. But these dudes are running with this ball so far down to the end zone. I mean, like, they do not let up for a second when they are getting on this guy's case.
To be fair, though, and I think this is another great example of whoever's directing this, they do have a good sense of social media, right? Because they could have easily shown a clip of him getting knocked out. Like, oh, well, what happened here? Like, you're face down. Ha, 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 ha.
Right.
But it's like they show a clip that's like, you get why somebody would like make fun of that. Like I do that about CJ Vergara all the time. Dude was running full circles around the cage when Tamirov was chasing him down.
Yeah, and they even added the little sound effect in there too, you know, the little running sound or whatever.
Yeah. So that was really funny. Also, another thing that was really good about it, and not good in the sense that they portrayed it well, but it's like you got a sense of that nagging voice because Surreal Gone is, you know, he's like, come on, champ, you know, don't listen to them. They're going to be good. But in the background, you still hear them laughing and talking about it's like, and you see his face. Obviously, he's got that blank expression, but like, then they ask, like, you know, well, we're going to move on to the next segment, whatever. Are you going to stay around for the Q&A? He's like, I mean, I guess if you want me to, guys, like, I guess, like, you know, so he's going to get shit on even more is basically what they were, you know, alluding to is he's going to be on the show with these two dickheads. So Real Gun doesn't know how to not have people shit on his fucking.
Well, I think that's another good point too. Is that this show did not. I mean, I don't know if Cyril Gahn actually has a podcast or not, but like if this does not make Cyril Gahn out to be a very good podcast host. Like he's got these two co-hosts over here who are running rampant, shitting all over their guests, and Cyril Gahn is basically just sitting back like, hey, guys, come on, let's lighten up a little bit, and that goes on a long fucking time.
I want to go back to the beginning of this because I actually think there was a really funny moment we didn't bring up. They bring up that Surreal Gahn lost to John Jones.
That is funny. Yes, they did. They did because our hero says, you know, I'd like to say that it's you know, John Jones is my favorite fighter, and I don't want to, you know, piss off Cyril Gahn. And Cyril Gahn's like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also, which was really funny, I know it's a dub thing, but like in the moment, it looked like he was genuinely having a good time with the banter. Surreal Gahn, that is. Like, if I don't know, it seemed like a really funny moment for him as well. Like, it seemed like he was okay with it. Like, man, throw the John Jones thing out there. Like, that'll be good for the show, you know. And then also the people on the chair, they say something along the lines of like, yeah, we're gonna have a champ from fucking Paris. And like, Surreal Gahn's like sitting right. It's like, are you guys not on his side? Like, who are you?
Yeah, they were just terrible hosts, period. I mean, unless that was specifically the aim was to like shit on whoever you're talking to.
Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird one. Anyway, anything else you want to add to that scene?
To the podcast?
Okay.
No.
Okay, so next scene starts, and this is where I have the note that they have real UFC fighters who portray fake fighters, and then they have fake fighters who portray UFC fighters in this, because they bring two UFC guys to the gym to show them some training. And this is when he pulls out his phone in the middle of his, and he's watching, you know, she says don't look at the negative comments, but like, I don't know. He was probably, as we see towards the end, he was probably making his connections. You know, he's probably doing something different. But at that point, I mean, he's clocked out of the whole thing. He just got told by his coach, like, he ain't going to be nothing. Why would I pay attention to the shit you guys got going on? He showed up, so that was his own fault. But like, at that time, dude, you got to figure out something fucking new. Like, don't be sitting here wasting your time and their time because you want to be playing on the phone while there was a decent instruction going on, whatever you want to say. But I think that's all I have to say about that scene.
Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't too much to that one.
Yeah. I think it was just the girl trying to fuck with him. Even though, she doesn't seem to like him yet. As of a whole movie happening in this first episode, he did not get the girl. I will confirm that. So, moving on.
Oh, well, actually, no, I did have one thing about that, because you're talking about when the guest fighters came in, right? To the gym. So the one note that I have was that these guest fighters come in and they're supposed to teach MMA boxing techniques. And
they're grappling.
Immediately goes into grappling. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Ground and pound. And then it's also funny because the coach is then trying to coach those fighters. It's like, first off, you don't even coach your own fighters. You brought these guys in to coach your fighters. Like, don't fucking try to start now to show off. Like, the UFC guys come in and now you know how to coach.
Yeah, suddenly you want to do your job.
Like, that shit's ridiculous. Okay, so anyway, scene ends, goes back to his apartment. The news is playing again, UFC news. They're talking about UFC Paris. Taylor Lapillus is now himself in the show. He's not just somebody in the gym. Maybe that's a thing later. Like maybe maybe he was at the gym. Like maybe later in the series, he'll be like, "Wow, I used to train. Like we used to be at the same gym." You know, I don't know. You would think that would come up. Like, oh, we just have somebody who's going to be participating in but I don't think so. Taylor Lapillus is in probably the smallest suit that he could have gotten, and he shows up. It wasn't a good color scheme either. I've never been a fan of the blue with the brown shoes. It just didn't look good. So he's watching the news, and then because everything moves so quickly, and also at the same time nobody gives a shit, he sees himself on the news. He sees himself on the news getting a knockout.
Right. His clip, the clip that has been going around, going viral, is being shown on the news now. Yes.
And so then he has a moment, doesn't seem as excited as somebody. If I got on the news, like I'd probably fucking run around the room or something, you know, have an exaggerated performance for something that is remarkable in my career. I've never been on the news for doing, let alone anything. It's some knocking out the most feared dude in professional MMA at the time in the fucking, you know, show. But sees himself on the news, picks up the phone, calls his friend, and you know he's like, "Hey, you still got that one ticket?" And his buddy says, "Yeah, I have a guy who's going to buy it for $5,000." And then he hits him with the, "So, you know, is there any chance that?" And then he's like, "No, I'm not going to give it to you," and then hangs up on him.
Yeah, this is the wildest moment of the whole show coming up here in a moment. I did want to just say real quick about Taylor Lapillus on the news broadcast that I do think that at least the way that he was conducting himself with the dub, it's a little hard to tell, but I think his post PFL analyst career might be around the corner. I think that he actually like carries himself like a broadcaster. So, you know, maybe something for Lapillus down the line. But coming into what we're going to talk about now, this is the craziest portion of this whole episode.
So there's a scene in between kind of deal where we walk into the bad guy's room at the backstage, or maybe they're at the house of the event. It's not really clear. It seems to be in the arena. He's just in a room watching the event. And I made a note of this. There were swords on the staircase. I don't know why. It was a weird touch because you have a staircase going up and there's like a little pad right here. But like nothing obviously goes on those normally, so they just have like a rack of like katanas. Like
that's why I think it was his apartment. I don't think it was that, because I had the same impression of it, but I think that it couldn't have been at the actual arena, right?
Well, okay, couldn't be at the actual arena, but then so you're watching the bad guy watch the news, and then the newscast at the UFC event plays the knockout. You know, they bring up that, oh, here's such and such in light sparring and he got knocked out by blah blah blah, and the hero is being played everywhere, and they still treat him like ass. Like they go back to the fucking, they show like the coaches like at his gym and the team watching the event, and they're like, oh my god, they're showing his knockout. It's like, you guys didn't give a shit. You watched it live. Like, I don't care if they're watching it now. You didn't give a shit when you saw it. Like, now you're happy that they're playing it on the news. Like, they played it 2 weeks ago. It's just now on UFC. He showed you the clip. Like,
at our hero's gym they're now cheering for him, even though they didn't care before.
And then so you have a guy who's sitting next to our bad guy villain, and he's telling him about these money plays. Like, I got a good parlay, or I got a good bookie set up, something like that. But then he throws out, I have specialists working to scrub the internet of the video.
Yeah, that is the craziest. That and the next thing are the craziest things in here. But that in and of itself, I was like, you're going to do what? You're going to try to scrub the internet of the video? Talk about the Streisand effect in real time.
Yeah, and then so our hero gets named. He gets name dropped on the ESPN or UFC, whatever it is, and then and I wrote this down after, but I'll mention it first. Our hero is clearly a fan of the dark arts with how he pulls off the things that he does, because out of nowhere he gets called onto the stage to talk about the incident that happened at the gym.
He casually strolls on to the UFC broadcast.
Oh wait, we forgot a crucial scene. How did he get to the UFC? the scene opens and he just has a ticket after his buddy told
Right,
him
his
he
buddy
wasn't
said
going to
no.
give it.
I think the implication is that the buddy ends up finally giving in, but we didn't actually get that, that information. But so yeah, he's outside of the event, takes a picture in front of the big UFC logo, and then walks inside. And then essentially, like the way that it plays out in the show, he would have had to go into the arena and then just find the broadcast and then just walk onto it.
Yeah. Yeah, so they made it seem like he did magic. Like he got a ticket and he talked to the nearest guy at the gate and said, I need to talk to Dana White. And they took him to him right away. That was the most crazy thing ever. So, our hero knows magic is what I said. And then I wrote down, no way is the whole first episode a dream sequence. Because that's how quickly and how insane this got. I was thinking maybe he got knocked out and this was him dreaming the rest of it. I'm serious, because it was insane for him to go on there, to one, get a ticket, get into the arena, get onto the broadcast, get his video played, have a moment where they bring him on with like a good celebration. It's like as if it was planned all along, but clearly the show is not telling you that kind of deal. And then he calls out our villain for a night of replacement, which, if you remember context, villain's at home watching the fights. Our hero is on the broadcast booth, says he's made weight and ready to fight. Okay? I put here, whole movie's plot within episode 1. The villain denies a rematch, and then I'll let you go. I'll let you talk about that one, and then we'll talk about the big reveal.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, the funny thing with that is that he calls out the villain, who's the champ, I guess, over in the organization that he's fighting in, calls him out on the TV, doesn't stay for UFC Paris, just walks out of the arena, and then somehow he, that comes into the next thing, which is the reveal that you're talking about. So go ahead.
Yes. So there is a reveal at the end of the first episode, which, if it would have happened, some different way, and this was a reveal in episode 4 going into 5 or something, and then we have a big send-off in 5 with these dudes, it would have been more interesting. And this was the moment that I knew that nobody had seen this show, because there is a reveal at the end of this that the way that our hero was able to have the strings pulled for him is because he reached out to George St. Pierre, and that has been his overarching mentor for an unquestionable amount of time, and apparently just got him on the UFC card, got him in the booth, got him ready to call out his next fight, and presumably going to be training him going forward.
That's the big thing. So it's like, yeah, I mean, as far as I know, and we'll of course find out in the second episode, but the way that it would seem to me is that GSP is still in Canada. But so he's talking to him on the phone, and this kid says, oh, I guess we're going to start training now. So I guess this kid is now going to go over to Canada to go train with George St. Pierre for this fight. I guess that we'll find out. But yeah, this whole thing had been leading up to, George St. Pierre being the new mentor who's going to take the place of this shitty gym that he was in, get this kid ready for the fight of his life.
I just also think it's funny that our scrawny, frail hero says he made weight against like the heavyweight champ or whatever it is. Like the dude was imposing over him in their little sparring.
At least 30 pounds on this guy.
Yeah, so the fact that they didn't plan this one out accordingly, I think, is a little, I don't know. How GSP is going to fit into the rest of the story is going to be really funny to me, because like I said, nobody clearly has seen this, because that reveal at the end of the first episode is like bombshell worthy, because like, where did that even come from? What did they make the whole first episode, and after like they shot the pilot, GSP was like, okay, I got to be in this now. Like they, pilots, they got to get the idea out there and people jump on board after. If GSP was like, okay, rewrite the ending a little bit, I'll be the one to save the day. And then, they write him into the end or something. A phone call is easy because there was no shot with GSP near anybody else. So,
well, that's what we're going to have to find out, if they actually are going to be together in the second episode and all this. But yeah, I mean, I guess they set it up with the whole thing with GSP, liking the knockout or whatever. But like, it just seemed a little bit wild that all of this had gone this. We're talking about how the social media plays into everything. It went from the punch happens that gets him viral to now the entire world knows about this shot. I would think that the way that they're making it seem, us outside of the show in the real world would have known about this knockout the way that they're making it sound. So,
yeah,
GSP knows about it. Cyril Gahn knows about it. Everybody in France knows about it. The TV's talking about it. This is the hottest knockout to ever happen in a gym.
Yeah, this was actually an episode that happened in my life, and I'm very excited to go watch more, and I hope we get to talk about more because this was fun. Like I really do enjoy talking about MMA and then TV shows and movies, and I think there's a good mix that we had here between the breaking down.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's episode 1 of The Cage. We're going to go back and we'll watch episode 2, and I guess we'll talk about that as well. There are only 5 episodes of this show so far. It's a short season, so this first season will only be those 5. We'll watch them independently, come back and do some more yapping about it, I suppose. Hopefully it continues to be as entertaining as it has been because, it's not a bad show. Like I definitely was never thinking like, oh my God, this is hard to watch. It's just funny in parts because of the way that they're like navigating the story. There's a lot of cliches in it. There's a lot of tropes that are being exposed, very regularly so far. But now all of that was in the first episode. So where is the rest of the story going to take us? We'll find out.
Yeah, it's like in a normal movie, all of this would happen over the course of 2.5, 3 hours or whatever. But in a TV show setting, you have to have different pacing between, a 5-episode show or whatever. But they used all of the cliche assets, like for a storyboard in the first episode. It's like, where's the overcoming moment? He already beat the bad guy. Like,
well, he's got to rebeat him. And I think that's going to be actually an interesting part is when because my whole thing with the flash forward, which is what that very first scene was, like I said, that's flashing forward. It went 8 months back is what they had said. So we saw the initial scene of him walking to the cage, and that was the whole thing about he's been counted out and all that. And it's 8 months before that is where we start our story off proper. So my question is going to be, when do we actually get to that flash forward part, or what would be the present time at that time? Like what part of the series does that come into play? And I always feel a little skeptical about those anyway, because we are going to be watching everything that is leading up to that. So if that is the end of the first season, is when they finally are at that fight, we know that we're going to get there. So like all of this other stuff kind of is just somewhat irrelevant. Like we know that where the conclusion is going to be.
Well, and that's another thing I was going to bring up. So if you ever remember the original Daredevil with Ben Affleck, a lot of the movie's a flashback, but at the beginning of the movie, they show at him at the end of the movie, and he's like alive and living well or whatever. And it's like, well, I know that he's going to be fine. Like there's no... there's no threat in the story.
Right.
I mean, there might be hardship. Yeah, exactly. There might be hardships, and our hero might be broke and lonely and have nobody that believes in him. But at the end of the day, I can just live my own life. Like if that's what I want to see.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe there's more to the story that we don't know yet. Of course, we only watched the first episode. So we'll see episode 2 and we'll come back and report on that after we've watched it.
Hell yeah.